Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome back to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're doing our CHIPPI review
CHIPPI.
Dice Forge.
Yes, this is one of our OG games, I would say. This is maybe, I think we got this in probably the first Christmas where we were really starting to get into games, which is quite a ways back now, so this makes us feel like newcomers again to the hobby.
Yes, it does. It definitely has that feel for me as well. It's just, I feel like a lot of I'm going to maybe spoil a little bit, but I feel like a lot of the games that we got earlier were kind of some bangers, I think, overall.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good, solid games, and it really set the bar pretty high for expectations for other games. And this was, for me, one of those, and we'll have to see if it still kind of is, if it's still hanging in there, however many plays later, how many years later, too, because, like you said, it's kind of probably, we got it early on, 4 or 5 years ago. This even appeared
in the first annual Not Your Average board game tournament, which, I mean, who knows how many there have even been. Too many to count.
Right, yeah, a lot of them. And there may even be some past champions in this video. But enough about that. Yeah. We will
on to the review.
Get to the CHIPPI review of this game. The core mechanics.
Core mechanics.
For the C in CHIPPI.
The C. Putting the C in CHIPPI.
For core mechanics, I've got an 8. I've got an 8 for it. I really like how you get to change the die faces in this one. Yeah. It just... I really like games where you... if they do have the dice in them, I like when you get to roll them a lot. And this one takes it up another notch where you kind of get to make your own dice in a way as you buy them and change them.
It is Dice Forge.
It is Dice Forge. You're forging them. So I just really like that. We don't have any other games that do that. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been done a few more times.
I think there's one that's coming out soon, which, but yeah, I think that one's been in the works for a while too. Yeah, actually. But yeah, that's the only other one I've heard of.
Yeah, and I've thought about like how could you could maybe do something similar with maybe a roll and write game where you're actually writing on the dice. But then I'm like, I don't know if that'd stay on there very well. But I thought that could have the potential for being interesting, but I haven't seen that yet, which is kind of surprising because I feel like they kind of try with roll and write games to kind of try a little bit different thing. I'm surprised if maybe come to dice.
It could be
Dice Forge, roll and write.
A write and roll.
A write and roll. Wow. There you go. But then I also like the fact that you get to roll during your opponent's turns in this one. I like that they put that in here to always kind of keep you doing something. Like I said, you get to roll your dice quite a bit in this game. So it really gives you the feeling that you don't just kind of have dice that you get to roll every once and again. You get to roll it on every single player's turn. So if you're playing a 4-player game, even though it may not always be your turn where you're actually being able to take an action or buy something, you're still able to roll your dice and get some bonuses or rewards from that.
Yeah, I have this one at a 9.25. Deck building is one of my favorite mechanisms, and just, I guess, any pool building in this. This one falls into that, for sure, that feel.
And that's true.
Building your dice.
Out of that, but yeah.
And then, like you said, actually getting to roll them so many times throughout the game. It's just so satisfying to, sometimes you don't roll it. Sometimes your plans just fail. But like you saw in our playthrough, some of the things that I did just paid off. Sometimes even the very next turn. Like I rolled 3 times my 6 money, which got me 18 money, which helped me score so well on a particular card that I just bought the turn before.
Right.
So yeah, it's just so fun seeing those dice that you've built really pay off. And yeah, it's very quick. It's very snappy, and we kind of took our turns rolling dice in the playthrough, but in real life
we got to play through.
Yeah, just go check that out. In real life, you can roll simultaneously, so that would make it even quicker. And even when we did that, it was only 45 minutes.
Right, and that's actually, the box says 45, because I had to look after we had done that, because I'm like, I wonder what the box says, and it actually says 45 minutes, so that was even, showing off a little bit of what we were doing, kind of taking a little extra time to do that. Which it was a two-player game. It was a two-player game too, so maybe with a 4, it might be getting up there again.
One more round, or how many more rounds?
4, it's actually the same amount of rounds we did. 3, it's one more round, I believe. Okay. But yeah, it's. I think you could probably do the same amount of rolls overall type thing. Yeah. Yeah,
really cool. History. What do you have here?
I've played. I don't know if you haven't played as much. I've played it. I think I had to have played it like 10 times now, because I usually get it to the table a few times a year. So.
Yeah, I have it. I remember the first time we played it very distinctly, and I remember another time randomly, and then the tournament, and then right now, and that's 4. And I assume I had to have played it another time somewhere, so I put it down as a 5. Somehow, for being one of our early games, I haven't played this one very much at all, which is surprising because it is a very quick, approachable game.
Yeah. Then we get into investment, and that's kind of, I think we probably have our own kind of thoughts on what investment is. It's kind of if the game, feels like it's too long, or if you're kind of still doing interesting things throughout the entire game.
I mean, what do you get out of it? Is that worth it?
Right, not necessarily monetary, because I'm not sure how much this game goes for now, but I've got a 7.75 on there. I think the game kind of just builds up because your dice are getting typically better and better throughout the game, if you're switching the faces out anyway. So that just makes your die rolls better and better as the game goes on, which is really cool. I like how that works. And it's, like we said, not a very long game, so it's not like it feels like, oh, this is half an hour too long or anything, because it only takes 45 minutes if you're kind of lollygagging around, when you can do almost everything simultaneously. It is simultaneous when you're all rolling, and one person just kind of taking their turn to move things around. I think a possible negative is that we played with, I assume it's the set that we've always played with. There's kind of 2 sets that you can switch between, I think, to kind of switch out the cards a little bit. But most of the time, those are going to stay pretty consistent from game to game, so that's not really going to change. So you could be trying some of the same things from game to game. So there's a little... It's not like you're going to explore totally brand new things each time, but there's enough in there to, play it. I mean, this as many times as I played it and still really find it enjoyable. And obviously, it all depends on how you're rolling the dice too. You might have to change to a slightly different strategy based on that.
I have this at an 8.75. I think it is the time investment is really good. It's a very easy setup, which we'll get a little more into that for the presentation a little later. But it's a very quick game, and I think the pacing is just right. Because sometimes these things where you're building your deck or you're building your pool, it's just a certain amount of rounds. It can feel like it was cut too short. I don't feel that way in this game, because even just adding one single face to your die can set up a big move. It's not like you're building up to one big move at the end, which you might not get to do. Every turn can be a really good turn for you. But I think the variability might not be there in the cards. There is an expansion, which I'm not sure exactly what's in that, but there's not too much variability there, but I think the replayability comes from how you want to build your dice.
Yeah, I'd agree. But that, like you said, that kind of gets us into presentation of the game, and kind of the box and everything goes with it, and artwork. What do you got for that, Pepper?
I've got... what did I put down here? Okay, I think I
put a 6.
I think I changed it from this to a little lower. I have a 9.75. which I had it as a 9.9 here, but I remember I changed it when I put it into the system because there were a couple things that maybe drew it back a little bit. But yeah, those dice, as much as we've attacked you for putting that as your number 1 component, or was that your number 2?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I can't
It was
remember.
number 1 tapestry, like.
It might have been. It was right. It was either 1 or 2.
But yeah,
another video
much.
that we did our top components, and yeah, I had the dice in this game as either the 1 or 2. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe you can link that in the video description so they can go find out.
Yes, yeah, just those dice are so awesome, and just the idea, the concept of it is just so cool to think about, even though sometimes it can be hard to get the faces on and off of the die, mostly off the die. But yeah, so that was a little drawback. But the insert is phenomenal. I think we've stored it vertically, and we opened it up, and everything was in its place. I can't remember a time.
Maybe just the tiny cardboard.
Yeah, there's a couple
but,
cardboard pieces, but there's only like 5 pieces that would be there. But yeah, the storage solution is great, and even that tray of bits, it can be a little tough to slide the sleeve on it, but that sleeve does help keep those right in their spot, and that is very satisfying to pull that out at the beginning of the game.
Yes, I totally agree. I've got this as a 9.5. I totally agree with everything you said. The insert is great, and that sleeve, really, I think without that, if you had to have those tiles like all messed up all over the place or whatever, it would be the score would drop dramatically, because I think that's that's also one of the coolest insert type things in a board game that I've seen, by far. But yeah, I think the one thing that was really keeping me from making it like a 10 or something was those dice faces, or the faces not necessarily coming off ezy all the time. Granted, in the playthrough, if you watch that, I actually had them come off pretty easily, so I'm like, well, I had written this score down before we had played, so maybe could have bumped it up to 9.75, but it's right around there. It's pretty solid.
And another thing, I think some of the iconography and some of the cards that let you re-roll or use other people's dice, I think that could be a little clearer. But, I mean, that's, again, I haven't played the game that much, so I'm not too familiar with those. But some of them look a little like, what the heck is all that? Rolling symbols and all those different things. What does that exactly mean? So that's a little bit of a drawback, too. But yeah, and box covers, one of my favorite covers of all time, I would say. And I think it actually, the rest of the game feels the same way the box cover does. Yeah,
I really like the artwork in the game. I don't know if it's my favorite box cover, but it's very solid. It's got a very distinct look to it, for sure. It's definitely one that I think would stand out amongst other box covers.
When if we do a top favorite box covers video, comment below if you're interested in that.
Yes, and you'll see which ones are possibly better than Dice Forge, maybe. But then we get to our second P, which is preference. Kind of where you would, if you'd want to take this one out over other games, or if you're picking one off the shelf. I've got it at a 7.5. It's one that I just like to get back to, a couple times a year, so it's kind of just middle of the road for me. Not one that, just because there's not too much more for me, I think, to explore in the game. It's not one that I'm like actively trying to get out more and more, but it is definitely one to get it up to that 10 plays. It's one that I definitely like to get out once or twice a year, and it's like we said, it's so quick that it plays well at all its player counts, I think, which helps as well, because there's some games that'll play better at a certain player count, but this one kind of helps you have a little broader range depending on how many people you have.
I have my preference at a 9 currently. And I think the difference here is I've just played it less, you did your ratings before we played, I did it after we played, so just a great playthrough was in my mind. It's been so long since I'd played it, and just kind of that, those awesome, cool dice building mechanics just got to me, and I would be very excited to play it again. And interestingly, this is also because I've played it less, and my history was a 5, which probably brings the overall score down, but probably the more that I played it, the lower the preference would be.
Could be.
And probably just even out. But yeah, 9, I definitely, it's fresh in the brain, and I'm feeling hot on it right now.
Interesting, because
it's hot off the forge.
So another video we're doing soon is our top 50 of all time. Yeah. Was it enough to maybe sneak on there? I don't know that it'd be enough to
I will say it was not a contender before that, but now I'm having second thoughts.
Might be on the edge. I'm guessing it'd be an edge one. I don't think it'd be but
I mean, I don't think it's all of a sudden going to be top 10 all time, but maybe.
But yeah, part of this alphabet soup that we're doing is kind of
we have
keeping
so
and
many
calling.
Things. Go check the playthrough, check the top 50 of all time, check the alphabet soup.
The keeping or calling of the alphabet soup. I know at first you had kind of said maybe call it or whatever possibly, but it's kind of sounding like that might not be the case anymore.
A lot of nines.
Then we
get
get into the it factor, and for that, I give it a 7.5. But after playing it, like you said, I kind of wrote mine out before playing it, and it had been a little bit since I'd played it last. But I think it's, like you said, it's very unique with its dice, and that's really a huge hook in the game that no other game that we have has. And forging them, it just works so well. It's quick. You're rolling your dice a lot.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really good things going on in the game for sure, and it's a solid one to get in your collection, especially if you're newer to the hobby. I think it's a great game for that.
Yeah, I have this at a 9.25. And this is just the fault of other games not using this dice building mechanism. It just feels different from every other game we played. And it's just so quick. There's pretty much no downtime in the game. There's nothing that bogs it down.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very snappy. So that gives me an overall of an 8.3.
Brings me to an overall of, this is shocking, an 8.8. I can't believe I am the one who likes this game more.
Yeah, I mean, to be 100% honest, I thought I would for sure have the higher score, and maybe if you had played it the same one as me, we'd probably be about the same then, maybe?
I think that's probably the difference.
Yeah, you kind of maybe got back into your hotness then.
I would say.
Yeah, I would not have expected that. I would have thought, I was kind of thinking you'd maybe be around mid-sevens or something.
Have I ever rated a game 7?
That's true. This is almost average for you. But no, I mean, it's a very, very solid game. We both think pretty highly of it, and I mean, even years after getting it originally and playing, 200, 300 more new games, it's still standing the test of time. And, I'm still, like we've said, it feels unique compared to so many more games that we've had, and I'm sure there might be games out there that have it that I haven't seen or anything, but I haven't heard of them. I would think if there were others out there that did it and did it really well, I feel like that would be talked about a little bit more. Although I wouldn't say that I hear this one talked about that much either.
Yeah, it's not surprisingly not much. Yeah.
But
what is the the design or the publisher? I don't know. Maybe it's not a well-known one.
Libellud. I'm not sure.
Oh, the very well-known.
So I'm not sure. I have to look into that. But well, that's our thoughts on Dice Forge.
Definitely gets the approval from the Nacho. We need to come up with some sort of seal for that.
If we like the game quite a bit. But if you've made it this far and you like the video, definitely give us a thumbs up. Otherwise, we thank you for watching. And if you want to see other CHIPPI reviews or playthroughs of games like this, or even our Alphabet Soup or any of our other content, definitely subscribe and hit the notification bar.
Yeah, we also talk about Tapestry from Stonemaier Games a lot. Go check out the Tap Talk videos.
Just randomly throw that in there. But otherwise, we thank you for watching. We hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.